Oh, so basically you're saying like take the approach like to prostitution that Singapore took lah.
Which is
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's just regulate it.
Yeah. More heavily regulated.
More heavily regulated.
Yeah.
Because
not saying you take pride in the prostitution, but I understand it will happen regardless.
It'll happen. On a much more modest level, it's like when people approach us on the street, we say, hey, fuck you, you pay to take selfie. You know, or you're like, oh my God, so many people approaching me. The one response to someone who says that is like, shut the fuck up. Okay? You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with it, you know. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your Thrives Weekly podcast, where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
You know, are you been keeping track of the Asia Cup?
Oh, I know something about Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan beat South Korea, man.
Yeah. Made history, right?
I don't know what they made history about. First time
in the final.
Okay. Yeah. But that's lah.
You've been watching it religiously,
No lah, just the highlights.
Oh, just the highlights.
Yeah, because quite exciting so far. But Jordan, I'm like, oof, now they might face either Iran or Qatar.
What are they playing for? The Asia Cup.
Asia Cup.
And how often do they play for this?
I think Asia Cup seems like Euro Cup for 4 years.
Oh, every 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this year there's Asia Cup, Euro Cup, I think Copa America.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's it lah.
That's it. And there's Olympics.
No, AFCON also. AFCON.
Oh, AFCON, which is the Africa equivalent for Africa.
Yeah, just completely skip one continent.
Fuck.
Yeah. Racist.
Yeah. Any other continent? No lah. Copa America is North and South America lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but interesting
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the final, I mean, you see the highlights, actually quite exciting lah.
Oh, is it?
Quite exciting. And Korea has had a number of comebacks, but then they lost 2-0.
Couldn't come back with this one.
Couldn't come back.
So why is Singapore not so interested in it? Like, why are we not hearing more about it?
I don't know. I mean, because we didn't qualify.
We didn't qualify, yeah.
And then Singapore football is just in a shit show as it always is.
Yeah.
It's almost like Asia Cup feels like a Euro Cup because we'll never be part of it.
Oh, yeah. It's a completely different continent already. Yeah.
Any hope also? I mean, a few years ago, Malaysia was in because in the news because they drew with South Korea.
Yeah.
But Singapore?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay lah. I mean, it is still a very festive period, so everyone's just chilling out anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing too exciting to get people riled up about that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're feeling the festivity.
I don't know what that means lah. Because I think everything since COVID, I think this is the first time people are actually celebrating. If anything.
Yeah.
So it generally feels a bit more muted lah, I would say. And maybe the cost of living and all that as well. Things are expensive now, man. All the bakwa is like insane. It's like, I don't know what, $70 or a kilogram or something.
Oh.
When it's gone up like 40-50% in price.
Oh, really?
Yeah, since the last round.
As in, it's not just the CNY premium, it's just over the past year, is it?
General inflation.
I know, like, jam tarts, because recently our neighbor gave us some jam tarts, and it was so nice, we looked it up online. Yeah, that jam tart was 20 plus a bottle.
Yeah.
But you said recently you also got a bottle of jam tarts.
You're talking about pineapple tarts, right? Pineapple tarts.
Oh yeah, but we always call it jam tarts.
Who's we?
My family, yeah.
Oh, how come it's called jam tarts?
I don't know, because it's jam.
Oh, but it's pineapple
That's
jam.
True. It's pineapple tarts.
Because that's what most people refer to it as pineapple tarts.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's like jam tarts. Is it some American thing? Pop tarts, jam tarts. What is that?
I guess one syllable since young, no, is always jam tarts.
It's an omelette thing.
I think so. Yeah. My whole family is jam tarts. No one says pineapple tarts.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Jam tarts.
Yeah. So the world says, or at least Singapore, most of Singapore does say pineapple tarts.
Actually, I don't know whether it's a Cindy thing. No.
Really? Or
maybe. Because like every time like amongst like Cindy families and all, it's always jam tarts. So it's not only my immediate family, it's extended family also.
Okay.
Jam tarts and omelets.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll remember that next time.
Yeah, okay.
So when you say jam tarts, I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's true.
Specifically.
That's true. Pineapple tarts.
Yeah.
Pineapple tarts. Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, for you, like, what's your plan for Chinese New Year since it's coming up, basically?
Might go to IKEA.
Okay. It's open? It's open. Okay.
Yeah. Was thinking about going to the bird park, but maybe not yet lah.
Why?
Just because I think we were thinking Friday half day, and then my wife might have a full day at work.
Oh, I see.
So don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, I want to go at some point. You've been to the new one, right?
Oh yeah, multiple times.
It's great, like.
No, it's
because you got the Mandai pass.
Yeah. That's right.
The wild pass, is it?
Yeah, and the new home for the birds is really quite amazing.
Because there's no cages or anything. It's just like one big net, right?
Yeah, one big dome, and then like once in a while you see one or two birds escape the dome. And then you see them trying to work their way back in. It looks like they're walking on the sky because the net is like barely visible. So it's very interesting look, like they're very big. I don't know, is it pelican or something?
So they escape and they try and get back in.
Yeah. Because that's home for them, you know?
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it's quite, I'm quite curious how they lure them back in or let them back in.
I haven't watched the documentary yet about the moving of the birds from the old park to the new park.
Yeah, that one is quite interesting also, yeah. But I mean, just the whole place itself is
quite cool.
Quite cool, yeah.
Okay, one day
another big tourist attraction that can, hopefully pull people away from other places.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even though it's Chinese New Year week, Parliament also said.
Yes.
And our first topic is something that was discussed in Parliament.
Yeah.
But before that, what is the regular spiel, Terence?
If you're new to this podcast or you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing or following. That really helps us, work our way through the YouTube algorithm or all the algorithms and get the podcast recommended to more people, which would really help us a lot, right?
And I mean, if you enjoy it, you can always leave us a review on Spotify and Apple. Right now, I think we are a strong 4.8 out of 5 with 1,100 reviews on Spotify.
Yeah.
The number can always do with more. And if you want to work with us, email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com. We already had some people email us for the internship.
Yeah.
So if you want to join us, work with us, internship, whatever, just hit us up. Cool. Okay,
cool.
So I mean, like Parliament said, I mean, just it's not like one of those gang buster like Parliament sittings where there's a lot of polarizing topics. But one thing that did come out that got some discussions going.
Yeah.
And it was the results of the internal investigation that was done about the very unfortunate death of a SPF officer who took his own life. And there was a 40-minute long ministerial statement given by Shanmugam that shed a lot more light about the incidents or like the individual's history at the SPF, as well as the things that SPF did after and maybe during to help their employees. So I mean, like I'm glad Shanmugam did say that this is he cleared it with the parents and the family.
Yeah.
Because even when we are going to be talking about it, it's going to be talking about stuff that it's factual, but it's what's the word? Is uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah, and he's not here to defend himself in whatever capacity, right?
Yeah. But I guess similar to why it was discussed in Parliament, why we wanted to talk about it is that mainly because of like the things that were uncovered, as well as the debate between Leong Mun Wai and Shanmugam.
Yeah.
But overall, like what are things that stood out for you just with this whole thing and reading up on the whole unfolding of events?
I think what stood out was, like what you say, like there are a lot of details about the man's, the police officer's personal and work performance as well, right? Even down to the number of sick days of MC that he got and things like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of tells you like what the debate is going to be about, what basically what a ministerial statement is going to focus on, and versus what public opinion might be of anything they say, right? So I think that you can tell that there's a real effort here to try to back up any statements that are being made. I mean, literally going to number of days of MC or no pay leave that the person took year by year since 2015. So that's a lot of information. So it kind of tells you that, there's a lot of prep work that went into this statement. So it's not just something that, okay, let's just address it and just get it out of the way, right? Yeah. But you, like, why was this an interesting topic for you?
I mean, because, it like when the news broke, I think it was last year, sometime middle of the year, there was a lot of, how you say, whistleblowing on, like, horrible stuff at the workplace.
Yeah.
Like being bullied, having a superior shred his leave form and shared a video in the team chat.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it resulted in suicide, it's quite sad, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of calls for investigation and for this investigation to be done and all the results to be made transparent. So after listening to Shanmugam's whole ministerial statement, yeah, there was a lot of info that uncovered stuff, or like no, not uncovered, that shared stuff about the happenings within SPF, but also to the extent of his own personal issues, lah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, apparently he was going through mental health issues, physical health issues, and at the time of his death, he was actually facing like three cases of discipline. Some were police charges, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like, wow, like it is quite thorough. Part of me was like, does it need to be this thorough? But I guess it has to be, lah.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was it didn't even occur to me that this investigation was an internal investigation until Leong Mun Wai just asked that, you know, he said he doesn't disagree with the findings, but why was this not a committee of inquiry? Then I was like, oh, actually, why not?
Yeah.
So that was what stood out for me, lah.
And subsequently, Shanmugam sort of shooting him down, right?
Yeah.
Saying that it's precisely because of sentiments like this. That's why there's, paraphrasing here, but that's why there is such there is such distrust of police forces, say, in places like the UK and all.
Yeah.
And why should we in Singapore follow what they are doing, right?
Yeah. So I mean, just to go over the overall findings of Shanmugam, of the investigation that was delivered by Shanmugam, right? Because it's a 40-minute long statement. It's long, but basically at the high level, there were a bunch of claims that was made by Uvaraja before his death. There were certain instances of racial slurs that were discovered to have been made. And apparently the officers apologized to Uvaraja. He was asked whether he wanted to press further charges, and he decided not to. And then certain claims about the toxic work environment. I think the shredding of the paper, that claim was verified, substantiated.
Yeah.
The claims of a cover-up when apparently Uvaraja wrote that he blew the whistle on officers that he caught vaping. From this investigation, it was concluded that an investigation was done. There was no cover-up, and that complaint was not substantiated. And another thing that Uvaraja pointed out was that he was held back in his career. So, I mean, Shanmugam said there was enough evidence to say he was transferred to 6 different units, which is a significant number of postings, even down to Uvaraja's claims that he invited his colleagues, but no one came for the wedding.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was only one formal invitation sent to his officer in charge, but who could not attend because he was sick. And the CEO was told about the wedding, but he didn't receive an invitation.
Yep.
Then Uvaraja had 3 ongoing investigations that were levied against him by his mom, his brother, and his sister-in-law, I think.
Yeah.
And then, the number of leave, the days of leave, and Shanmugam was kind of pointing out that, you know, for him to take that much of leave, not many organizations might be open to that. And there was no cover-up. So, like, with all that, I thought, okay, that's pretty extensive. But then, what made me think was like when Leong Mun Wai asked that question, and Shanmugam's subsequent response, which was along the lines of what you said. The reason why they did not do the committee of inquiry is because they don't want the officers to be held out to dry. And they don't want every allegation to have a committee of inquiry be done, because apparently that has led to a lot of low morale in countries like the UK. But what do you make of that whole exchange?
I think, Shanmugam actually laid out a lot of information, right? That even for ourselves as running a business and having employees and stuff like that, you know, we've had, or even not even running your own business, just being a boss and everything, right? And having people under you. There are instances where someone, you know, I'm not saying this the instance in this case, but some people, they sometimes they do have, when they do complain about the, you know, workplace or the bosses and things like that, there are those who do stretch the truth as well, right? You know, in order to get something that they want from, whether it's compensation or something from the company that they work for, right? And I've been in instances where I was a superior, and then there have been employees like that, right? I'm not saying that that they are completely wrong, or I was completely right, or there's because there's obvious imbalance, right? When the between employer and employee. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, these things, when an employee goes to report to MOM or something like that, they do take up considerable resources, right, on the side of the superior, the boss, to have to handle, right? And so I can see the argument from the case of like assessing whether something requires a committee of inquiry. You have to measure you have to measure different things, like the impact on the morale of everyone involved, or even the impact on the people involved, their careers, right? Because it will sort of be they'll be under investigation for quite a long period of time. It's not a matter of weeks or what, it's probably months at the very least, right? And then you need to understand that when you start an inquiry like that it will have knock-on effects on the officers involved, but also the department and overall the whole police force, down to like what Shanmugam was saying about morale within the police and public perception of the police, right? Because I think, especially in the West in recent times, there's been a lot more scrutiny on police officers and the work of the police in places like the US, and about racism and discrimination within the police, right? Especially in places in the West, So I think he is Shanmugam was merely jumping to that extreme of asking Leong Mun Wai, like, hey, why do you want to do this, to bring those kind of discussions here to Singapore, right? But I think it's also important to point out, like, going straight to a committee of inquiry, there needs to be certain requirements for there to actually launch a committee of inquiry, right? And not necessarily just because one officer alleged this thing, then they jump to the committee of inquiry. So I get his argument for the committee of inquiry. What I didn't understand was why could it have been answered? Why Leong Mun Wai's Leong Mun Wai's question couldn't have been answered in a more just facts, civil, just a more civil way, right? Of understanding the requirements to go to the committee of inquiry, right?
Yeah.
Because I can buy his argument, I can buy Shanmugam's argument, right? But when he became almost so defensive and almost like saying, "Oh, Leong Mun Wai, you weren't listening to my speech, right? You were not in the chambers when I was speaking." Because they literally had the exchange where he asked the Speaker of Parliament, "Hey, was Leong Mun Wai in Parliament? Can you ask him whether he was listening to my speech?" Right?
Yeah, then Leong Mun Wai walks up, presses the mic. Yes, I was.
Yeah. So I felt that then that went a little bit like, okay, I mean, attacking him personally rather than just addressing the question, which I think is a question that, like even you also had after Leong Mun Wai raised it, right? I think it could have been answered in a more objective manner. I don't disagree with his points, but I think the way he answered it just, made people like question even further. Oh, why are you so defensive? Like why are you trying to cover up? Which is not necessary, right?
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment I was left with.
Yeah,
because like Leong Mun Wai, he really just asked that one question, and I think he spoke for like 30 seconds when asking the question. He said, and I paraphrase, something along the lines of, "I don't disagree with the findings, but given the fact that there was a life that was lost, why was there no committee of inquiry?" And Shanmugam, I think, went back and spoke for like 7 or 8 minutes. He got visibly riled up.
Yeah.
Right? He even said at one point, "Do you not remember the facts from the UK? Wait, let me get the facts."
And then
he picked up his iPad, took logged in, Face ID and all, go and pull up the stuff.
I know. Yeah. I was watching on YouTube, so I was listening on YouTube, so it went quiet for a while. Then I thought, my phone reception died or something.
No, he was getting his iPad. And after that, he even said, I think how he rebutted Leong Mun Wai was saying, which aspect do you disagree with? I think he even said that if we start doing this committee of inquiries, it could result in low morale, which means that in the UK, I think 70% of the police officers wouldn't recommend someone to join the police force.
Yeah.
And then Shanmugam extended it by saying, is that like what you want in Singapore? Singapore is a high trust society. There's a lot of trust in about 90%. I'm not so sure where that stat came from, have trust in SPF.
Yeah.
So which aspect of the findings do you disagree with? And then Leong Mun Wai came in and said, it's not that I disagree with the finding. And I mean, again, like spar back, he said, I think Minister was not being attentive to me. Yeah, I'm just asking what was going through his mind. So I totally agree with like what you said about how just the way it was defended leaves me with like, is there something that is being hidden? Which is exactly not what we want, right?
Yeah.
Because I get also how the committee of inquiry will require more manpower, more resources it'll take. But then committees of inquiry have been commissioned before. I think the most recent one we were talking about before we started recording was the case of the individual who
the ragging incident.
The ragging incident, right?
Yeah.
Which resulted in some very
harsh punishment.
Right? So in this case, it's just another case of the message being delivered. Because so I mean the tough part about listening to the history of Uvaraja was, it's tough to say but like I think it sounds like, with the days of leave and all, listening to that, it almost felt like it was kind of blaming or like laying out the facts such that it was more about his performance as opposed to the culture of the organization. That's the feeling I got. It's like, okay, this guy, I know you said you cleared with the family. He's not here to defend himself. You are being respectful of it. But listening to the 40 minutes, I was like, oh shit, this is painting Uvaraja in a very negative light. So, and then, of course, with that context and certain complaints not being verified, it makes you feel like, oh, then maybe it was something to do with him and not the organization. Which, does that make me have more faith in SPF? I don't think so. So then it just feels like, this is just getting like that ugly kind of stage where it's diving very deep and uncomfortable, but it's not really resolving the issue that Shanmugam pointed out, which is trust in the organization. So at the end of it, I'm just like, that was weird.
The laying out of the facts, I think, ends up, anyone reading it, you will somehow come to some kind of judgment about the person, right? Which isn't I think it's not the crux of the issue, right? People want to know about the result of the inquiry about workplace bullying, whether it really existed and all that, right? As opposed to questioning the credibility of the person. But that said, I think he was making a point that the credibility of the person whistleblowing is also something to think about in this instance, because he did bring up his quite extraordinary record of no pay leave and medical leave over like 7-8 years, right? And it even begs the question, like, if someone is absent from work from a certain job for such a long period of time, in any job, right? Not even like talking about police, but any job, would the person even still be under employment? I think that's a question that I saw a lot online as well, where people saw the actual record, his work record. People are like, this is, the question is, why didn't he leave himself if it was causing such stress to him? Or even, why didn't the organization, agree to part ways, right? Because it seemed like it was tough for him, right?
I think there was 1 year where he was on medical and no pay leave for 280 days. So he was like working for 80 days of the year.
And I think we are trying to be a bit more sensitive about it also, because you don't immediately say that just because he was taking medical leave means that he was a bad performer at work, right? But I would also guess that part of the line of thinking is like, if you're only working that number of days within a year or so, and then but you're saying that there's workplace discrimination and all that, it's also not a very fair or complete picture of what the workplace is like, right? Because you're not there a lot of the time also, right? So I think that's, to some extent, that is part of the argument, and that's where I feel like, okay, I understand why they had to bring it up, even though it's not pleasant.
But I mean, like there's one thing, even though it wasn't stated explicitly, it was kind of hinted that because you don't want to hang out your SPF employees to dry, and you don't want to have to convene these inquiries over and over again for every little allegation. It almost sounds like trust the system. And it feels like a very outdated way of thinking. And that's where I feel like, okay, is that a good enough defense?
Yeah.
It's like saying, I mean, there have been a lot of time spent in Parliament discussing stuff like, ride out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it has nothing to do with policy making. It is just so much time, so much mainstream consciousness was dedicated to that, to clear something that you could argue that it has nothing to do with policy. So when he was saying that, it didn't sit well. That just because we need to protect morale, we don't want to hang out these people to dry if they are innocent. But does it always work like that? No. And I think that is not a strong enough case.
Yeah.
Because it feels like the organization must evolve, I do agree that sometimes maybe too much transparency, too much free speech, not ideal. But going to the other extreme and saying, is this what you want for Singapore, where all these committees of inquiry will reduce morale to the point where police officers will not recommend it as a job, to the point that no one joins? Which I feel like, how is that an argument?
So yeah, I think it is a bit of a stretch to bring all the way to talk about morale.
Yeah.
When actually, I think maybe a better approach would have been to lay out like what are the sort of like the benchmarks for commissioning a committee of inquiry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like in what instances do you determine that a committee of inquiry is required? Like first, there is an internal investigation, and like even if it clears the internal investigation, it has to be that investigation has to be reviewed by somebody, and then if that somebody thinks that there's nothing, or if there's something, or that something still needs to be investigated, then we look to the next step. So yeah, just laying these out in greater detail would have probably answered Leong Mun Wai's question more clearly and more objectively. Without it seem like so what, you don't support our police, that kind of statement,
Yeah.
Because that's what it felt like when he said it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, even looking for what are the requirements to convene a committee of inquiry, it wasn't the easiest to find, but I found something on the Min Law website, which was it was the Inquiries Act that was established in 2007. But basically, the new act kind of provides provisions, and I'm reading off the thing, for the appointment of committees of inquiry for which the modern framework similarly will apply. And also, it allows for situations that do not raise major issues of public policy. It may be more appropriate for the relevant minister convene a committee of inquiry to investigate. So this new law allows ministers to convene a COI in various situations that might not be clearly related to public policy. Which, when I read it, I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe there isn't really like a quantifiable set of checklists for which COIs must be convened, and it's more the discretion of the minister.
Yeah.
Which then makes it seem like it's subjective. Which then makes it seem that it is really dependent on the minister. Which feels like, oh shit, is that a good thing?
Yeah. So I guess that's Leong Mun Wai's probably question, right?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you convene a committee of inquiry, right?
And it was not answered well, right?
It was not. It was answered with a bit, I think, too much emotion, maybe, that made it feel like, it sort of like, wow, why so defensive, right?
Yeah, but it feels like it will end there, right? There's nothing more after that.
I suppose so, unless it's debated again in Parliament. But if seems like where it came from. I mean, and Leong Mun Wai also, after that, I think he also sort of like just said that his thing was, he was just asking a question, right?
What was in the mind of the minister?
Yeah, what was in the mind? He's trying to understand and everything, So I guess he's also not like aggressively pushing that there has to be one. He's not banging the rostrum like he did before.
But he just asked one question that
pokes.
Yeah. But like at the end of the day, like I mean, I think we talked about the death last year. Where are you like after this whole thing and all the unfolding now? Like, what are you kind of like thinking? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is, I think there is an element of like, as the Home Affairs Minister, he also is defending his team, right? But the relationship between the public and the police, I think in Singapore, is very different from the relationship between public and police in other places also. So it's just taking the example wholesale or applying it here doesn't really. I think also got to consider right, about the benefits and everything of that lah. Yeah.
But I guess it's the same thing we've heard, right? Don't import these foreign debates, like when it comes to Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I think it's literally been stated by a minister or a politician about importing these sort of cultural issues, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, like I think we can all see that the division between the police and the public in other countries sometimes can be quite ugly, right? And of course we don't want to go there. But this one feels like it's another thing like, okay, don't bring their problems here. Which feels like... And then I was thinking like, well, then what is Shanmugam's thought process? But remember when he came on our podcast and we asked him about POFMA, his main thing, which I think was quite eye-opening for you also, was that the short-term thing, there'll be thing, but 10 years down the road, when people look back, it like you won't care about the noise, but the thing that matters most is that this fact was proven to be wrong. So maybe in this case, it's also like that, like not to set a precedent. Which also feels like, is that the best? Is that the way forward? I don't know, man.
Then what's the way? What do you see is the way forward for?
Because sometimes I also feel like sometimes the way forward that organizations are taking, I also think, hey, you don't have to go to that extent, like Sometimes I feel like being too woke, and being too transparent is also not in society's best interest. But I would imagine that his defense here would be the same defense that would be used like 30 years ago, which then makes me feel like, okay, is this really the way it should be done now? Like maybe, I don't know, maybe like if a committee of inquiry was done, it would almost feel like, okay, we are almost not scared of the truth. We're not covering up anything, we're putting everything out there, and to establish trust. So I don't know. So that's why I think Leong Mun Wai's question, it poked, but there's something very real there. Yeah. But I don't know what the line is, how transparent versus everything internal.
Yeah. And I guess that's what, having some kind of like understanding the threshold before which you think about doing a committee of inquiry.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel arbitrary, right? I think that's important to explain to people your thought process about it.
Yeah.
I think he put a lot of facts out there.
Yeah.
But I'm not maybe the fact that it's in Parliament and it's open to, I mean, it's in Parliament, so people don't feel like it's as objective as it can be, right? In the sense that they want to feel like there's some distance between what the ministers, when they convene a committee and then that committee does the investigating versus the internal investigation, right?
But then is it just optics or not, Terence?
What, the committee of inquiry?
Like the fact of having to go through that process just to please the optics.
I mean, there definitely is an element of that, right? And like you said, right? Maybe for the public, it might make people, once and for all, they just understand that, okay, these are the facts, right? But at the same time, there's also still be people who will question whether the committee of inquiry is really like objective and everything.
Taxpayers' money,
Yeah. So both ways, I think there will be people who are unhappy about it. Not even the use of money, they'll just be about, is it really this committee? Is it even objective, right? Because it's a committee convened by people in Parliament also, right? So maybe that's like what Shanmugam was saying, the short term versus the long term, right? Thinking about those two issues and what kind of precedents his decisions will set. That's his thought process behind it, maybe.
Yeah. And the delivery of the response,
Yeah, of course.
It's just like, I mean, just based on looking online, of course, within the bubbles that exist online, Facebook comments, Reddit posts, I think there is a sentiment that, hey, how come why so defensive? But I don't know whether there's a vocal minority.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many people would actually watch this whole ministerial statement and see that things unfold. Because it's one of those things that, unlike, like, say, HDB prices that affect the masses, in this case, it is particular to a certain organization.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It was just not the easiest thing to watch and listen to.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's it's a quite heavy topic to begin with. But there's this other topic that we're talking about is Something that also is affecting a lot of young people, right? In our tertiary institutions. But don't think it's something that you really want to convene more people to actually look at, because there's the whole point of the problem now is that there are just too many people doing it, right? And what is this thing that people are doing that's irritating our poor students at NTU and NUS?
It is a wave of tourists from foreign countries who have apparently and are apparently going to the campuses of NTU and NUS to walk around, take pictures of the students there, take pictures of the campus, and sometimes even join lectures. And these are tourist groups that come as part of a tour organized by agencies. So the latest update is that NTU is going to impose a fee on tourists who come. So I mean, even on this CNA article, the main picture is like a tourist taking a picture of, I guess, his daughter. In front of one of the more iconic buildings of NTU, known as the Hive. So the background is apparently like there are a lot of foreigners who want to take pictures and understand university life because maybe they see their kids going there in future. It's like, you hear people go for Harvard tours, Oxford tours. So is NTU and US. So why shouldn't we be proud, Terrence?
Why
not? We have reached the stratospheric levels of being a university that when people come to Singapore, they see it as a tourist spot. Shouldn't we be beaming with pride? Is NTU being too salty?
I mean, my first thing was like, I'm quite shocked that the tourists can just walk around freely around campus, right? I mean, around campus, okay, but like to use the facilities and, go up and down the floors of the building, being able to eat in the canteen and things like that. I'm quite surprised because I think our experience with a university overseas is that a lot of the buildings, the university buildings, are actually not open to the public that way, right? That easily, where you can just walk in and out freely. Often, even back in the day, already, you had to have a student card and you had to sort of like tap in every time, kind of like EasyLink like that. So I'm very surprised that tourists can literally just walk into classes and just sit down and listen to lectures, because that is not possible in our time in our university. Right?
But then conversely, I was not surprised.
Oh, okay.
Because in our previous life, we actually filmed 2 videos.
Oh, yes. Correct,
one in NUS, one in NTU, where we walked around, we filmed. I think we ate at the canteen as well.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to join lectures, I think we could have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I think maybe it's like, in the US, you wouldn't expect to leave your laptop on a table at a cafe, go to the toilet and come back and it still be there, right?
Yeah.
Singapore, there is that trust.
Yeah.
So maybe it's also embedded in these universities. So that's why I was actually not surprised that they could do it. In fact, now I'm thinking, how is the university going to impose this fee?
Yeah. No, but I think walking around the campus, like the green open areas, the green areas, talking to people along the walkways or there, I think, okay, that's understandable, even in our university and all. But to walk into the buildings and to
lecture halls
get into lecture halls and things like that to me, it's a security breach. Because it's like, isn't that what you pay your security guards or your security systems for, to prevent people from using the facilities that are really strictly only for students, like your professor's time and things like that, right? That's the part I was very shocked by. And I mean, I don't know, because we didn't do that. We didn't walk into lectures and everything. But yeah, the rest of the campus, okay, we got around. But yeah, the being able to just walk into lectures is just crazy, man.
SMU?
Yeah.
I know there are gantries that you have to enter and exit. I don't know whether any lecture halls are within that instance. Okay, let's say LaSalle.
Yeah.
LaSalle, right? I mean, it's a tertiary institution.
Yeah.
You can take the lift, go up, and you can just enter one of the classrooms. Right. So that's why, I don't know whether we want to go down the path of having all these campuses bolted up and all. Because then NTU and US are huge, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you just did a Shanmugam.
Which is why I know.
You just went to the extreme. Just cause more security doesn't mean that you bolt up the whole university.
You see other universities outside, in the US, they're talking about guns, no?
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about having teachers armed with guns. Is that what you want in Singapore, Terrence? So yeah, as I was saying, I could feel my inner Shanmugam coming out also, lah. But this one, I just found it fucking hilarious, lah.
Yeah.
But also, it feels like another thing that in Singapore that is being like, how you say, commoditized, lah.
Is that a polite word for what you're thinking?
Or like whoring out, lah.
Because I think you used that word previously when we were talking about
it. Man. Next time, I think sitting at the void deck also, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a fee lah for tourists.
Yeah.
Going to mama shop. You know, these mama shops won't just be mama shops. They'll be like artisanal snacks. So that is the side of things. I'm like, oh shit, everything is becoming like a way to milk foreigners lah.
But isn't that like it's a microcosm of the problem of Singapore society now, right? The fact that your country or your university is so desirable that foreigners all want to come here, but they coming here will cause there to be issues, right? Like overcrowding, etc., which is what, you know, people are complaining about on campus, public transport, overcrowding, things like that, all being affected by visitors. But that tells you something, right? That foreigners want to come here, they want to be a part of your university and things like that, isn't that like
good thing?
Yeah, like literally, isn't that what the discussion about? Yeah, doesn't that tell you that the place you're living is one of the better ones already, or the place that you're studying is one of the better ones?
And I mean, it's hard to tell these tourist agencies also and clamp down. That means you cannot come to NTU. They'll find a way around it.
Yeah, they'll find a way around it.
Right. So I guess this is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But I mean, NUS and NTU are ranked, even though university rankings very polarizing, very controversial. But they're both ranked, I think, 19th and 36th. I don't know which one is 19th, which one is 36th. Oh, NUS is 19th globally, according to the Times Higher Education, and NTU is 36th.
Yeah.
So you're saying like it's part and parcel of the pride that we have.
I actually think so because again, maybe not apples to apples comparison, but the mood in last time when we went to university, the idea of like students or parents coming to visit the school or that was actually a very big part of the student life there, right? Where there'll be ambassadors going to lead these groups around campus and touring and telling them about the history and how exciting it is to study in our campus and all that. And I don't know about you, but it gave me a sense of that sense of pride that people want to come to university. That it's a very desirable place to come and go and walk around and everything, you know. Don't disrupt my classes. Don't make the services that are for students. Don't compromise the student services for these tourists, right? But it was I think there was this general sense of pride, obviously people want to come into our university.
I always walk with a spring in my step.
Then you see, you know, parents, and then they ask you, if you walk by, they ask you a question, you're like, you know, it's great and blah blah, right? So I don't see it as a bad thing that people want to see in university. What I see as a bad thing is that the university is not catering enough resources to the idea of outreach, right? That means they're not making sure that these tour groups are, you know, properly cordoned off, or at least they know where they can or can't go, that they don't use services that are meant for the student community, like you know, the canteen or public transport, the public transport system within the school. They don't use those services and end up like clogging them up for all the students. So actually the fault is on the university, you know. It's not the tourists, because I think they're just doing what tourists do, right? Or you know, parents do. They're doing research about where the children might potentially go for university. And it's not the fault of the students either, right? I mean, they're just trying to get by. They're not. I don't think that the demands are they're asking for too much, where, you know, our classes are not disrupted, people are not gawking at us all day. I don't think those are extraordinary demands, especially in light of, you know, everything we know about sexual assaults in universities these days, right? You know, what we've heard in the last decade or so. I don't think there's too much to ask for of the students. So it's the university administration that I feel like need to do something better than just charging people money. Because honestly, their money also, like, they're already on holiday, they're already spending a lot of money. Like, even if you charge an entry fee, it's like going to the zoo or something, like, it's just you pay.
And where you going to sign in?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, so basically you're saying like take the approach like to prostitution that Singapore took lah.
Which is
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's just regulate it.
Yeah. More heavily regulated.
More heavily regulated.
Yeah.
Because
not saying you take pride in the prostitution, but I understand it will happen regardless.
It'll happen.
And if people are coming to university, it's a good thing lah. It's telling people that university is desired lah, right?
So actually, it's like the double-edged sword of anything that has fame lah, right? I mean, on a much more modest level, it's like when people approach us on the street, we say, "Hey, fuck you! You pay to take selfie." You know, or you're like, "Oh my god, so many people approaching me." The one response to someone who says that is like, "Shut the fuck up, okay? You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with it, lah. You know." So maybe like in that case, yeah, I was trying to look whether NTU, because you know like what you say at our uni and a lot of overseas unis, I think the school organizes these tours, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, it is almost like an opportunity for students to run like a small business lah, you know, where you start allocating resources to this, you let the students run it, and it becomes a thing that you somewhat regulate it, but you also kind of like, it's like a win-win lah almost.
Yeah. And make it like a specific period lah, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know how a lot of universities or what have open houses and things like that for people to come and see.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they know that this period, maybe during, I don't know, Chinese New Year, because there's a lot of like tourists from China during that period and all that. Maybe you specifically make it during this period lah, and then get student groups to actually operate it, which is what it was lah, right?
Yeah,
I think
it was.
Back then, like the tours were run by like student ambassadors and things like that, and then there's a sense of ownership and there's a sense of like responsibility for these groups also. It's not just like some random third-party tourist agency that comes and does it.
And you feel pride lah, you know, like people are wanting to come to your uni, like what you said. And then maybe like even you can charge like the kopitiam there and all. You charge the tourist price, like you bring them to this one stall, you know.
Correct.
That, I mean, it feels like there is a lot that can happen there from the university's perspective also, like.
Yeah.
Who knows that? I don't know whether maybe this is something they are actively working on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just found it funny because I think like what you said, like back then, NUS, NTU, maybe they were not as well known.
Yeah.
But now they got a pretty decent rap.
Yeah, right? Big rap.
And Singapore also, we got pretty decent rap globally.
Yeah.
Whereas 10 years ago, like people, like you go abroad, like people don't even know where the hell Singapore is.
Yeah.
Now we got the TikTok CEO here.
Yeah. And then the DBS CEO, everything, you know. But yeah, I mean, like if you build something like the Hive, you know, that building, the very beautiful building.
People will come.
People will come. And that's what the architecture is there for people to admire also, you know. And you can't say no, you can't come and see it and everything because it's an educational institution.
And actually going to the campus, it is refreshing. I remember when we went to film there, it was always very nice.
Yeah.
There's a nice energy. But rest assured, according to an NUS spokesperson, they are monitoring the situation. Yeah, NUS is monitoring. At least NTU, like, okay, they took action. NUS is monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, monitoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, interesting.
No, I mean, good for the universities, and in some ways, I also encourage the students to see it as like your university, the place you're studying at is very desirable, right? That's why they're checking you out, right?
It's like, some you know, the people say, oh my god, so many guys, so many girls are checking me out. Oh my god, just shut up, okay?
Or would you rather nobody gives a shit about your university, and every time you mention it, everyone's like, oh, is it? I never heard of it. Oh, okay, you know, that kind of thing. Like, what do you want? What do you prefer? Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. But yeah. So interesting. I mean, I hope something comes out of it for NUS and NTU.
Yeah.
Feels like an exciting thing that could be done. Especially you have entrepreneurial students everywhere.
Yeah.
Feels like just harvest some of that energy, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool, man.
But yes. So, what is your one Shiok comment for the last few days?
My one Shiok comment, I would say, okay, so one Shiok comment. I mean, okay, one comment that caught my eye was something by a long-time commenter, Original Goat, on the recent podcast we did about foreign interference law invoked against businessmen in Hong Kong, left outraged by Messi. Even though on that podcast we talked about referring our previous episode before that about Senator Tom Cotton interviewing Show during the hearing.
Yeah.
basically this commentator put, I'm afraid you're being much too naive in trying to justify Senator Cotton's actions. In the American context, he's just race baiting or racial profiling in the same way that his supporters go from the 9/11 hijackers were Muslim to any dark-skinned man wearing a turban must be a terrorist. Unfortunately, a long history of injustice towards Chinese Americans. He doesn't give a shit about FICA or the CCP. He would have used the same tactics against the Japanese CEO back in the 1980s. So, I mean, it caught my attention because I still feel that it's a bit of an extreme take. I think even today, or the Straits Times wrote an article saying that, Tom Cotton knew exactly what he was doing and it's a performative thing. But I found it curious because the episode was literally about someone in Singapore who had ties to the CCP. But yeah, so I have to politely disagree with his comments about just us being too naive. I think it's important to consider as many sides as possible. And just the whole wave of show being totally innocent is just annoying me.
I think you can quote another regular Yalbat commenter, Internet Lurker 96, who I think he stated that, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. He could be doing his race baiting thing, but at the same time, he also could be, questioning the CCP alignment, the alignment between TikTok and the CCP and everything, right?
Yeah.
So it could be a little bit of both.
Because imagine
it's kind of what we don't want is like everyone just say, oh, it's just a racist thing and nothing else,
Because imagine if a Singaporean-born American senator, Chinese guy, was asking the same questions.
Yeah.
Would that be racist then?
Yeah.
Of course, maybe it doesn't even need to be the same race. If it's not a white man, if it's a minority female, would it still be racist?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like what that commenter said, like it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Shiok lah, Harish took off the racial lenses.
I took it off, man.
And it's a new 2024, man.
Yeah, I took it off. I think I woke up, I had not put on the racial lens yet, so I could be objective. I could be objective, yeah. But that was my one Shiok comment.
Yeah. My own is from YouTube, from Vic Shack, on an episode talking about the migrant workers who got Coldplay tickets. He says, I manage a foreign workers dorm in Singapore. Sometimes the simple things bring them joy. We organized a MasterChef event in the dorm last year, and they were given a special surprise meat to cook, which were lobsters. Who would have thought, right? Foreign workers cooking lobsters. So Coldplay, regarding Coldplay, which was what our discussion was about, right? Who says the foreign workers don't know Coldplay? They're all human. Let's stop complaining and judging if they deserve the tickets. And he ends by saying, by the way, you guys are a staple in my life now. Keep doing what you do and keep whacking the heck out of the omelette. I spelled that correctly.
Omelette, man.
Yeah.
Omelette forever.
Yeah.
Fucking omelette forever, yeah.
So, nice message. I think someone who's on the ground working with foreign workers telling us that, I think some Singaporeans are taking it too seriously.
Too seriously,
yeah.
Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is actually this Netflix feature documentary that, I think it came to our attention recently, but it's ice cold. It's about, it's an investigation, it's a documentary about a very peculiar case during the 2015 or something like that when a pair of friends, Indonesian friends, went to a cafe in Indonesia to have a coffee. And then after drinking a sip of the coffee, one of the friends started convulsing and died. Apparently, or allegedly, of cyanide poisoning, right? And the friend who was there at the cafe ended up getting convicted of premeditated murder.
Oh, shit.
So, this documentary the interesting thing is actually made by a production company in Singapore as well, who, had to go to Indonesia and interview a lot of people and make this interesting documentary. It's pretty decent. I would encourage everyone to check it out. And won't spoil it for anyone about what happens with the case and all.
So you finished the whole thing already, is it?
Yeah, it's a feature. It's about an hour and a half, ice cold. I think it's the story of Jessica Wong So, if I'm not wrong. That's her name.
I see. Cool. All right. So my one is something out of the Grammys. And I mean, the Grammys that happened, there's a lot more cynicism about awards. There was an annoying moment by Jay-Z. But I thought one thing that was quite interesting was Miley Cyrus. Because she performed
Yeah.
And I mean, I think she was going for the whole Tina Turner look. And she won her first Grammy and second Grammy for the song Flowers. She performed Flowers. But during the song, I think at one point she improvised the lyrics to point out that she won her first Grammy. And it was a very nice moment because Miley Cyrus, I mean, I never watched her when she was younger with Disney or something, right?
Yeah.
But I've always seen her as like, okay lah, music, not my cup of tea, you know. But over the years, then she got like certain things where she goes like extreme with the guy on stage. Who was the guy? The one, the blurred
Robin
lines?
Thicke.
Robin Thicke.
Yeah.
And got some controversy there and all.
Yeah.
But now it feels like, she's evolved. It's like, you know, when you see people, it's almost like you see people grow up and then finally reach a point where they're like, wow, okay lah, she's like fucking legit. And just that fact that she won in that performance, it was nice lah. It was nice.
Yeah. And she was on Joe Rogan's podcast at one point or so. Yeah.
Oh, she went on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, a few years back. Yeah.
Oh, shit. And she's only 31, no?
Yeah, she's young. Yeah.
She seems like she's like been around for so long. She's like another Justin Bieber. La.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a nice moment. That clip is damn cute. So kudos to her.
Yeah. Well done, Miley.
Well done, Miley.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But yeah, that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
One more before Chinese New Year break.
Yeah, one more to go before we take a longer break for over Chinese New Year.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you enjoyed this, if you are new, if you've been here for a while, it'd be great if you can recommend this to one other person. Follow us on social media, leave a review. And if you want to work with us, where should they email, Terrence?
Contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to y'all soon.